be.
Okay, that's fine. Have I got you down a
might
bit?
if I.
Let me check. No, you're not down any bit. You're good.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll come a little closer, and maybe that'll be helpful.
Okay, we're streaming. Hello, everybody. Let us know if audio is working on the interwebs. We've got Michael B, Michael Elliott, Goya, and Wagoo. Hello. Now, I'm going to be doing the show. This is for Darren and for everyone else. Here's your heads just popped in. I'm going to be doing the show from my MIDI controller today. I've mapped all these buttons. So, for example, you can see me press this one here. It should go to me. And if I press the top one there, it should go to the four of us. So I'm going to try the show from a MIDI controller today, see how that goes, because that's kind of relevant to us.
Until you forget which button's which.
Yes, until I forget. Well, I haven't got any stickers on them either, so that's the problem.
You can do like disco view and change them to the times of the music.
All right, now.
Oh, it goes into demo mode.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so the other thing I want everyone to check on is my audio level. And this is for the chatties, because I'm using the new NVIDIA RTX voice, which is a plugin that takes my audio and does a bit of AI, stops background noise from coming through. So I should sound, if I sound okay, I hope it's not cutting any of my voice off or anything, but let us know. If it does become a drama, I can always just switch my mic back on and override it. But yeah, hopefully it's nice and clean sounding. It is good. Fantastic. Andrew Brooks, how are we going? Triple Eight Berg.
Yeah, but we like background music. Whether it's your crickets or whatever.
Well, that's it. You won't even hear crickets anymore. Well, not that the crickets are around because it's coming into the winter months now, so they've disappeared. But yeah, you won't hear them anymore because of the... Well, I don't know, if you're interested in it, go check out the video I put up yesterday on my channel. But then again, you have to have Windows and you also have to have an NVIDIA graphics card to use it. So if you've got neither of those...
Well, I've got a window.
Yeah. Oh, there's Inks.
Oh.
Inkster.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, we can.
Yep.
Oh, good. Hello?
And it's a much
Hello,
improved
everyone.
image in that corner now.
Now, she was a little bit hot, so I'm just gonna pop her down a smidge. Just keeps talking a gibberish sentence, Inky.
Well, I can turn myself down, so I can go 1 2 1 2 1 2. 1 2.
Don't go too low though, because I'm watching you disappear into oblivion.
You're hoping, Rans. You're hoping.
Oh well, we can always do stuff like this and just make the show all about you, Inky. Look at that. Everyone can just watch you.
No. No, then I'm leaving. I'm going. Bye.
All right, I think we've got most of everything rock and rolling. I was working in my garage today, and a bit of dust fell in my eye. And ever since it's done that, it's been bugging me all day. I feel like I don't know. I feel like my eyes just never wants to let up. A little bit of dust. I was working on the garage, the remote opener for the garage door. And for some reason, the remote buttons weren't working, so I replaced all the batteries. Still not working. So you have to go in, like literally climb up a ladder, open up the panel, and click reprogram. When I opened up the panel, it was just filled with my face. It was comical. But anyway, the things that we do. And
That's horrible when you
So after all that, did nothing. Door doesn't work. I have to get some guy out next week. Beautiful. Okay, we've got a full house, which is good. That's always the plan. We may even be able to squeeze one more in, but that's right. We'll leave it as the four of us. That should be fine. Good to see everyone joining. Mr. Matt is here.
I can leave if someone. I'll offer to leave. I don't mind going.
You actually set this topic, so you're not going anywhere. So, nice try, Inky.
I have a massive panic attack. Did anybody else have a massive panic attack about an hour before this?
What are you having a panic attack for?
It's too busy.
There's only a few people on the stream. It's not that many.
You're too busy eating crisps. That's how you cope, Darren.
I know.
Oh, decent flavour this week.
Not just them.
He's got Haribos.
Oh.
Next time I'll have a big smorgasbord out.
I can't eat Haribos because they stick to my teeth, and it takes me forever to get them. And I was talking to a dentist once, and they said, "Yeah, they're not actually too good for your teeth." Andrew's disappeared. Andrew,
it's the crisps and the Haribo.
He's disappeared. He's basically
I'm back.
He's disgusted by our behaviour. He's just disappeared.
No, I'm disgusted
the
by my
Haribo
USB ports that keep dying.
Oh, okay, fair
Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you go like that?
I think he's
Oh,
disappeared.
you can. So I can wipe. Yeah, that's great. No, I didn't know that.
You can turn your camera off. Yeah.
I wasn't doing it purposely.
If we could do it in time, it'd be really good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What else going on?
Yeah. Or in sync, so to the beat, so it'd be Darren, Rans, Andrew, me. You know what I mean?
Just make the whole stream look like that, shall I? Everyone can just look at like, hey, everybody.
We'd probably have more viewers.
Welcome to the new show. It's called Being Left in the Dark. Apparently, all the musicians know this very well.
Hey, can you MIDI map the camera switch? We could all map it and then do a sequence of it, sort of going on and off.
I could, if I.
See, I've got an analog switch. It goes like this.
Mine goes like this.
Yeah.
Big thumbs up for the internet. Oh, geez. Pre-show, everybody. The show actually officially, pick a word, any word, and don't mince your words like I do. The show officially starts at 10 or 3 p.m. if you're in the UK, or 10 a.m. if you're in New York, or 10 p.m. if you're living here in the boondocks of the bottom of the world, or if you're living where Andrew lives, it's midnight that it starts at, because Andrew just loves staying up. Anyway, hello to Sonic Neutronic as well. He's chopped in, and Scott Rogers as well. So yeah, some new people. If you are new to the stream, we feel terribly sorry for you. You probably won't be back, but that's okay. It's my fault. Just blame me. We're about 5 minutes away from the show starting. This is just the pre-show where we just set everything up. And we're just making sure everything's working, and it is. And like I said before, I'm going to be doing it all, Inky, from a USB USB MIDI controller today. So it should be less mouse clickery and more fluidness. This is kind of my hope anyway. So that's if I can remember what all the buttons do. If I forget, it's going to be a train wreck. But yeah, I should.
You didn't label them then.
I haven't got the labels. There's me. There's Darren. It's got some sort of logical order. Inky, Andrew.
You defriended me anyway.
All of us. Cool. And I've got other buttons that do other cool things. How about this button? You guys like this button? Ready? That's my Batman transition. If we ever get stuck, we can always just hit that one. Oh, they've just seen it now. Oh, gee. Right. So about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and we'll hit the big fat stinger, or do you want to call it intro? I should get a new one. That's getting a bit old, that one. The stream intro. So, should cue that up.
Inky, didn't you say you defended me?
I didn't say I'd defend you. I've never claimed to defend you.
No, defriend.
Oh, unfriended.
Oh, yeah. Defriend, yeah. Not speaking to you.
Is defriend like a DJ term? Because I thought it was unfriended.
Yeah, well, I'm skull breaking.
We've got a nice DJ theme in the funny side today, so that'll fit nicely in with everything. But yeah. Anyway, there's it's a nice cozy amount of people that watch this stream, so I'm happy with that. I appreciate everyone that puts up with me. That's about the best thing I can say. There's so many people doing live streams now. It's kind of like you know, not another live streamer. Especially if you're new here, you're probably, oh God, not another guy who does music and live streaming. But actually, to be fair, I've been doing this for over a year, so when everyone wasn't.
And our show's
Very
different
hipster
in the fact, don't you think, Rans, in the level of quality, taking it to a different level of quality?
We don't have.
I'm not saying whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, we don't have the.
It's the new normal.
The eyes of the big corporate monster of up, so we can just do whatever we want. We can say what we want and do what we want, and no one's to answer to, except me mum.
Rans, you're getting very hipster.
brought
You're just
Andrew
doing
down
it before
to-
anyone else.
We're going to have to get rid of Andrew because he's too high level, I think, before he gets dragged down to ours.
No, he's Aussie. We're right. you can be as high as you like and still be Aussie. Oh my God! All right, I think we might start high a little bit early, because we can do that. All right, let's hit the bum. Boom. Sitting here patiently for that stinger to finish. Hi everyone, welcome to Saturday. It's another live stream, and yes, we're back here again. And this week we're doing a little bit of a topic of sequences, and hopefully you guys might find that interesting. If you've never ever heard of sequences before, I feel sorry for you. And if you have heard of sequences before, you'll probably be very disappointed. But anyway, having said that, let's say hi to everybody, starting with, where should we go? I think we go with all of us. And probably, I'll do a sort of anti-clockwise movement. We'll start with Darren. Darren, how's your week been?
Good. It's been okay. It's been okay. Not bad at all. Not been bad weather neither.
That's okay. That's good. You're still in lockdown, I'm gathering.
Oh yes, for at least till next week, and then I think they're going to start to see how they're going to slowly, and I mean slowly, lift. So,
Yeah.
God knows.
Good. I'll talk about what they're doing over here in a sec. We'll go now to Inky. That wasn't anti-clockwise at all, was it?
Hello?
It's that new controller.
Yeah. How's your week been, Inky?
Yeah, it's been good. Like sunny. Yeah, really good. And I'm starting on a new set, so that's going to be good.
So you actually are progressing. That's beautiful to hear. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've got a deadline for the middle of June to do a 45-minute set. So that's going to be good. And film each part, how I'm making it, and then perform it all.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's going to be good.
Look forward to seeing that, that's for sure. Absolutely. And then, without, not last but not least, we'll say g'day to Andrew. How you going? How's your week been?
Yeah, good. Wasn't that long ago that we ended up doing stuff on, was it Wednesday? So that was, when we did the midweek MIDI show. That was actually quite good, actually. I enjoyed that one.
It's awesome.
But other than that, just been working and yeah, having fun trying to get the studio all hooked up this week. As I've been experimenting with the MIDI side of things to try and get everything talking to each other the way it should be, and it's really not. We'll get there.
Well, that's fantastic. It seems like ages ago we did that stream, but it was only Wednesday. But anyway, if you didn't see it, it's on my channel, the replay, and we had Adam Valius from MMA, Yamaha, some other hats he's got. It was really interesting to pick his brains. He's a very knowledgeable man. So if you're into that sort of stuff, go check that out. That's for sure. All right. Now, if you are new to the stream, so I'd introduce what we do. We have a couple of regular segments. You'll get to see those in a couple of secs. And then afterwards, we go into our main topic. We always try to have a main topic each week. And as I said before, this week it's sequences. So hopefully it's interesting for you. Anyway, let's start off with our sequence. And the first one is called Funny Side, and I'll roll the sticker. Wow, and I actually didn't stuff it up. Pressing all these buttons here. Awesome. Well, you have reached the end of the internet. And as I always say, this is where it's supposed to be quite funny. And scour the interwebs each week, trying to find the lamest jokes and memes that you can possibly find and try and keep them relevant. There wasn't that much, I have to be honest. People haven't been feeling in jovial mood. So I had to end up making a couple of memes myself. And I thought these were kind of related to kind of people talking on social media about Superbooth. We'll start with this one. So you're poor Drake. He always gets hammered, doesn't he? So there's no income because you're a DJ, but you're happy to buy all the gear from Superbooth. So that's pretty much the feeling that I've been getting with it. There's people whinging in one forum about how they can't earn money because they can't play in clubs, but they're all gassing over all the cool stuff in Superbooth. And as, of course, it just naturally progresses into this, doesn't it? This is your bank account looking at you as you're Googling over all that Superbooth stuff. So yes, now, one of our regulars, he may even be, yes, he is in the channel, and that is Xils-labs. He sends some stuff every now and then, and it is related. Now, Inky, you may remember this fantastic graphic.
Yes, I do.
Well,
how could I not?
How can you not? You'll never forget that. He sent in this, which is the pink synth, the Fazli. I forget what you called it. It was a what did he call it? It was a FKB 50, I think they call it. It's probably just a Rompler, like one of those PSR Yamaha things. But yeah, you don't actually see many pink synths, and Xils-labs found one, so I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird shade of pink, though, isn't it? It's a bit like of a
dusty.
Pink, yeah, there's pink, then there's the pink. Do you know?
There's that pink, and then there's that pink. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not the best meme creator in the world, but that was the sentiment I thought at the sort of wind up for Superbooth was, everyone was basically going, "Oh, isn't that cool to see all that gear?" Yeah, we don't have any money, so manufacturers out there, I don't know how you expect us to afford to buy all this stuff because we can't perform at the moment. Anyway, having said that, we should move into the news. So I will try and press this button and hopefully it rolls the news stinger. Worked. And yes, there is news, and well, so far I've held back in looking at the Superbooth Eurorack stuff. And the first one that I definitely was very keen on checking out was this one. Now, this one is a, where's my show notes gone? Here we go. Is Eternal Engine Apparatus. Now, these are a Russian synthesizer manufacturer. And so quite a uniquely designed synth. It's duophonic, and it features vacuum and gas-filled radio tubes, as you can see on the top there. and it's actually controlled by an ARM core. It's got a digital controller in the back of it. It's only got 2 VCOs, single EG, which is the envelope generator, and a single LFO and 1 amp with a built-in overdrive. So it sounds apparently fairly warm and fat. So let's have a listen. I do have a video keyed up. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. Wonders will never cease. Let's go. Well, that definitely had a bit of Chernobyl spare parts to it, didn't it? That one was pretty cool looking. I definitely liked the whole VU meters and tubes on top. What did you guys think of that? Want to make a comment on that one?
I think it's more for people who like to have all that sort of odd, unique gear and lots of space, because it looks quite big as well, doesn't it, for what it is? But I do like the tubes on the top. Yeah, I do like the tubes on the top, and like I say, the VU meters. But yeah, I think it's for those people who want something just different, not retro. Yeah. Well, I suppose it's retro looking as well.
Very retro looking. 1950. Inky.
I will say it sounded really good to me.
That's what I
loved it.
Yeah.
It's got that. It had a feel of almost a club. Do you know? It was really bouncy and alive, wasn't it?
Really warm, wasn't it?
I mean,
so warm.
Yeah, it stuck out. That's the first synth I've heard in ages that's I've gone, ooh.
Yep.
That's quite good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Very, very, very fat sounding, definitely, as Tellurian just said in chat. So yeah, Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Is that just purely a CV, or is that triggered by MIDI? What's the deal with that? I couldn't quite see how that was actually being controlled. Because it's actually quite a nice sounding synth. Because it's
can't see if there's any controls on the top there. It does have an ARM controller, so because of that, it probably would have MIDI. There wasn't any more photos, unfortunately, but I will link in the video in the description.
Yeah, nice.
A bit later on, you guys can check that out. Now, before we all get excited about this, let's discuss the price. Who wants to have a guess how much this is? All right, Inky, have a guess.
It's going to be ridiculous.
I reckon it's $699.
$699, okay. Andrew?
I reckon it's going to be the 1200. 1200 US.
All right. And Darren?
Yeah, I'm going for just under 1,000, sort of like towards the Moog type of stuff.
Wow. Okay, you guys are all miles off. It's $18.99 US.
Ah!
So, yeah.
I don't like it that much. I'm sorry. But not as a mono, yeah. Well, you could have 8 of them, and that's the price of a Moog. One. No, well, okay. It did sound nice, but
it should do for that.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the news. Got a bit more news to get through. So the second item on the list is a Japanese guy, and I don't know if his name is Menkui or Menkui, or his business is called that. But this has been popping around as a kind of project / Kickstarter. I don't know if it ever went to Kickstarter, but it's evolved over a few years. It looks completely different to when I first saw this, and it's called the Wing Pinger. And it's what's really, really interesting about this, if you haven't seen this, is actually doesn't have any oscillators. This is a synth without oscillators. So you might think to yourself, well, how can the synth not have oscillators? Well, it's actually a resonating synth, so it uses just the filter self-resonating, and it has a pair of them. And it also has a feedback circuit to beef that up. So I do have a video for that as well. Hopefully that works. This one was a little bit ago, but give you an idea of the sound anyway. So that kind of looked like to me. I don't know if I'm working this out correctly, but do you guys think it might? There's two resonators, right? It looks like there's one for one keyboard, bit of a buchla sort of style touch keyboard on the right, and the bottom one it kind of corresponds. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's kind of how it felt for me anyway. All right, quick reaction from you guys. What do you guys think of the Wing Pinger? Who wants to go first?
I think it's
Yeah, it's a blur. Okay, Inky.
Yeah, it's a blur.
I quite like it because it'd be good for live playing, wouldn't it? You know, live jamming. But yeah, I quite liked it. Yeah. I'd like to know the price of it.
I don't have a price. It hasn't been announced yet. Apparently he's Chinese. I do apologise. Mr. Mac has pointed out that he's not Japanese, he's Chinese. But anyway, apologies to anyone who's Japanese and I've just insulted them. Sorry,
can I just ask, did that have effects on it, or was that dry?
I don't. It does have a feedback circuit, so like an overdrive effect. That's
right. Yeah.
That's all I know it was called. Andrew, did you want to have a quick comment on that one?
Yeah, I really liked it actually. I thought it's a different kind of instrument, which is why I like it, because it's not, like the last thing. There's so many bass lines and there's so many great bass line, monophonic bass line synths, but I like something that's a little bit unique. So for me, I like it on just because it's purely unique.
Yeah, it's got a
whether I can fit it into my music. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know about you guys, but it kind of does have a bit of a Volca kick similarity to it. You guys remember the Volca kick? How it's got that Korg MS-20 resonant sort of. It does have an oscillator in it though, but you can get a Volca kick to sound pretty similar to that. So it did kind of travel down that path.
A bit like Mutable Instruments rings.
Yeah,
resonating.
It was. Yeah. Good point. It's not groundbreaking. Like, it's not the first time someone's definitely done that. That's for sure. Anyway, now there was one other news. 1, 2, 3, and that's this one. I don't really normally like to talk about these guys, but you know what? As peed off as we can get with their annoying videos that they never, ever, ever release products. They just keep teasing us with rubbish. You got to admit, like, if you're into string machines, this thing's probably got the gas meter going pretty nasty. Now, I know a lot of you aren't into string machines. You know I am, so this is why I'm showing it, because I like it. There's two reasons why this is interesting for me. One is it's actually a clone of a Selena, an ARP Selena, and I absolutely love the sound of the ARP Selena. And also, it's Eurorack, so you'll be able to mount this in your Eurorack, and so that's actually a big win for me as well. I can see some exciting things coming out of this, so that's definitely on the to purchase list. Now, they haven't finished making it yet. This is typical of Behringer. They keep showing stuff that hasn't been finished. I think they showed the OB8, during the week as well. Enough of showing stuff that hasn't been finished. Just finish it and release it. I mean, how long ago did they launch those, Darren? They launched those Roland System 100 modules. We haven't even seen them in the stores yet. So,
well, yeah.
They've got to stop doing this. They've got to, Roland never do this. Roland will announce their product, and literally within a week or two, it's in the stores. You can buy it, and that's something that I actually have always admired. Yamaha, Roland, Korg are all like that. So,
because you get excited about.
Inky, you go first.
Well, especially the rate of products they're doing. They're doing so many products at a time. By the time they've released one, you've thought about another 20.
Yeah,
so you forgot about the one you really want to buy, and you're thinking about. So they're actually competing against themselves in a strange kind of way.
Yeah,
you get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. What were you going to say, Darren?
I was just going to say, yeah, because when they do this type of thing, it's sort of like you get your hopes up and you think, oh, I quite like this, I'm going to wait to buy it. And then it sort of stretches out. And by the time it's coming around, you sort of give up on the idea and you've gone a different route.
Yeah. And Andrew, apart from all the negatives, what do you think of the actual string, clone? Is that something that you'd be interested in?
I'd like to know how it compares to something like the Waldorf Strike Fet, because I love the Strike Fet.
Yeah.
That's the string one, if I remember correctly. And I really like that. So, and that's a bit sort of more modern and, I don't know if I'm that much into string machines, but if I was going to do something, I'd probably want something that was a bit more compact. And if it's going... Whoop, I don't know where that's coming from. But if...
It's just showing me strike fit.
It's a strike fit.
Oh, is that what it is? That's what I mean. So I really love the sound on that. So... And that's a really compact device, and I know that the idea of that is it's all the same shape and it fits in a Eurorack. That's a lot of space to take up with Eurorack when it's only got a couple of buttons and dials.
Well, it is. You're right. It's pretty minimalistic, but it is a divide down synthesizer, so it actually does have quite a lot of technically polyphony if you want to look at it that way. And if you think about it, I normally have the VC340 sitting behind me, but it's actually behind the Sub 37 at the moment. But that thing's like a monolith, huge, big paperweight. And really, it's like, 2 or 3 trick pony. When you think about it, there's a few things that Celine is going to add, as well as just the string sound. I think there's a nice chorus thing in there as well. They were talking about putting a phaser circuit in there. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but yeah. So anyway, I don't want to give them too much airtime because, but there is something that I like that sort of sound. So I'm keen on that. Anyway, that's enough of the news for the week. Now we do have one more segment. If you're new,
I've got a piece of news for DJs. It's not good news. It's not good news. So Pioneer, who do all the DJ stuff.
Yep.
They've released their own program software to use, like Serato, called Recordbox.
Yep.
And during this time, they've decided to make it subscription. So at the time when no one's working, unless you've got the top of the range stuff, which it will work free, they now give you a cut down version, and you've got to pay for the version that you used to be able to have. So if you've bought a middle of the range controller and you're like a DJ now, what are you supposed to do? So I think that was a pretty bad manoeuvre on their behalf. And I think it will reflect badly in the future. I think people will stray away from them, especially when you've got people like Denon and those controllers rivaling it now. And they're all in the box. So, bad news, really. Bad news.
I'm really not into the subscription route.
No, well, Pioneer have kind of lost their way. I mean, they used to be a really good company. Really, really good company. And now they don't back anything up. I don't know if that Pioneer Squid's ever had an update. I don't know. Someone tell me. I know the Therese people had to beg for things that they're promised. And now it's all a bit backwards when they own the market.
Yeah, I think it's a bit silly. I mean, they're not the only ones that have probably been a little bit greedy with the subscription model. I had a bit of a chat during the week about this. But sticking to what you're talking about specifically, I think if they really want to build loyalty to DJs right now, DJs, it's not just DJs, so I'm not singling them out. It's just we're talking about DJ market, so it's specifically about them. They're hurting because they can't perform in clubs. They can't, there's nothing they can do to make any money. So I don't know how Pioneer expect them to pay them when they're not making any money.
Who made that decision? Who at Pioneer thought this is going to be great for the community that we run? We literally own the DJ community, basically. So, okay, the pros can still have it, and they probably have Serato anyway, or whatever. But, all the other newcomers, we're just going to suddenly charge them this. Or they can't have the features they had. Who made that decision? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Words fail me sometimes.
Well, the pros probably don't even have to pay for it. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those things, isn't it?
Well, it comes like, so I've got a mixer, and it comes inside the mixer is a license for the full version of Serato DJ, and so their top of the range mixer full record box will have that, but the next level down won't. You know, you have to install it through the computer and like ask Pioneer for a password rather than it being in the box itself. If you get myself,
yeah.
If you get it,
yeah. Well, we'll park that for now, and you know, because we've got a bit more to talk about. There's the next segment coming up is our price watch for the week, which is always popular, and a couple of the regulars have contributed this week as well, which is always good. So we'll start with rolling the stinger for that. World's longest stinger. And while we're waiting for that to finish, there we go. So yeah, I had a few of these come in, and I can't even remember what order they're coming in as. Okay, so that one I think they got from one of the guys. I think it might have been Inverted IP that gave me that one. The EMS Polysynthi for $57,000. That's not bad, hey, on eBay.
But what worries me, it's photographed outdoors. I mean, if it's worth that much, why is it photographed outdoors with leaves around it? You know what I mean?
That's a beauty, isn't it? So
it's weatherproof.
It's poly. It's EMS.
It should be for that.
Yeah, it's a beauty, that one. Okay, what else have we got? We've got this one came in from Xils-labs, who's in the chat. The Oberheim OB12. Now, we were talking about this, I think, a few weeks ago, weren't we? So this one's popped up again. What is that, $6,000 US? So anyone who might remember in chat that it's just a VA. So definitely, I think they're just sort of banking in on the Oberheim name on that one there. Yeah, anyway, we move on from that one. Can't remember who sent me this. I think it might have been you, Andrew. Was that you that sent me through this one?
Yeah, I sent this one.
Yeah, beautiful. Makes my job a lot easier when people send them in to me. And this one's the Roland keyboard leather case. That's all it is. There's no keyboard in it. It's just the leather case for 3,000 Australian dollars, which is only worth about $30 US, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. It's about 1,500-ish pounds. That's a lot of money for a leather case. Don't you guys agree? Yes. There's one more. This one was from Xils-labs.
I've got a hard case for me Juno.
Xils-labs he's all bent on this. On this.
Oh, is it Donkey Jaw? It's a Donkey Jaw, isn't it?
I can't remember how you pronounce that. Bujada or Bujada? I don't know. I'm completely butchering it. Someone will tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, that's 110 euros or almost $200 Australian. But yeah, you can play it. It's definitely a musical instrument, apparently. Xils-labs, jump into chat and tell us all about your obsession with these things. The only time I ever mentioned it was because the Korg Mini Pops had something that emulated this. It sounds nothing like this. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. I think that's the last one, if I remember rightly. So
his studio's full of them.
He's probably got like a little museum of donkey jaws. Yeah.
He probably had a lot of donkeys
on a shelf behind him.
Oh, we can't knock him. He's done a nice thing by sending me in something for a segment, so I'm definitely grateful for that. It makes my job easier. So Andrew and Inverted as well. So that was awesome. In fact, speaking of chatties, why don't we say a quick hello to the chatties? Let's bring them up here. And normally each week I actually like to say hi to the chatties. Now, just below me is the social bubble. I don't know, I always mention it, but you can actually use the hashtag Ramsey on Twitter, and it'll also show up on my control thing here for socials. But while we're doing that, I thought I'd go forwards, backwards. and say good day to everyone who's popped in so far today. So big hello to Michael B, Michael Elliott, Goya, Wagoo, Azio Head, Triple Eight Berg, Michael, said that already. I'm going to repeat myself and sound like a fool. Andrew Brooks is here. G'day, Andy. Mr. Max here. Scrolling. Sonic Neutronic. Scott Rogers. Wow, lots of people. There's a few new people too. That a big warm welcome to you guys if you're new. Norman Fernandez, good to see you back. IP's here, Inverted Popes, Axel Soft Music. I think I said that. I'm not sure if I did. Obviously, the ones that I'm forgetting, you can just throw your synth at the screen in disgust. There's also Wayne Murray, Tellurian. Wow, so many people. It's awesome today. They've got W Window Liquor 808. That's a good one. I like that, Nick. That's awesome. You're definitely welcome back with that, Nick. And I'm scrolling. Wow, Finn's here. Yeah. If I've forgotten about you, I just can't be scrolling forever. Mikhail's here. Yeah. Like I said.
Yeah, so he's got a question.
Mikhail has.
Yeah. We're back a bit, I think. About sequences, anyway. I think it was about his Electron Digitag.
Okay. It'll probably be off the screen now. If you've got a question, just copy it and paste it in again, and I'll flag it. It's scrolling off the top of the screen. Tony Shalala, how you going? Nice of you to just pop in. Look, yeah, if I have missed any of you, I do apologize. There was a lot of people that I was scrolling through there. And yeah, if you've got something that you want to add to today's discussion, we're going to be talking about sequences. And sequences is a pretty good topic. I definitely think a lot of us will be keen to sort of talk about this. Now, this is going to be probably more to do with hardware sequences than sequences in general. We may delve into the software side. Depends on how much time. Depends on how much time we've got. I don't know what happened then, Darren. You were yelling at Inky.
Yeah. Well, we went hardware, software, so I'm hardware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm not with the software sequences.
So, like I said, it's going to be mainly talking about hardware. But if you do have something interesting to talk about for software, we may get there. We might have time for it. But what I thought we'd do first is maybe just go around the guys in the chat and also the guys that could be calling in with the video calls today, and just tell us what your favorite sequencer that you're using right now is. And I'll start with might start with you, Inky. Is that all right if I start with you? Tell us what your favorite sequencer is. Doesn't matter what it is. Just tell us a little bit about it and why you love it.
Well, it would be the Akai Force, but it's lacking two features.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'd pick a circuit over it. Yeah. Even though I can do MIDI XY, I can train it up to do MIDI XY on the XY pad and put parameters in. It's lacking transpose via the pads. So you have to go to a menu and go, it's +3, which is like 3 steps, so it's not immediate. And you could have that with the amount of pads on here. You could have that for the track and the whole of the sequence, and that'd be no problem. And that'd be great. And you can't alter the sequence length via pads. Again, you have to do it by the touch screen and numbers.
Yeah.
And it's all 2 steps away. Whereas if they implemented what the circuit could do, then the Force would be brilliant. It'd be my favourite by far.
So would we be right in saying that circuit is your favourite then?
For live? Well, I've got 3 of them because I couldn't think of anything better. I mean, I've got a Digito, Akai Force, MPC. But when you want to do stuff live on the fly, you don't want to be doing 64, copy and paste 64 sessions. You want to just be doing 16 bars and be able to alter those in live real time in as many ways as possible. So with the so if I use a circuit, I can make the track go up and down an octave. I can transpose it, put it into a different scale, all within 2 button hits.
Yeah.
So that's immediate. That's like live. Whereas the rest of the stuff I've got, you have to kind of think about it all and program it in, and then just trigger it all back in a live sense. So they are different. It depends what you're wanting to do, what sequencer is what you're gonna like, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like features in different features. I'd like these features in the Force, but they're not there. So the circuit at the moment.
Circuit wins it. Probably the only negative with the circuit though is is that it's not really properly an external sequencer. It's still more an internal sequencer. You can use it to sequence external gear, but you have to mute your.
You've only got. Sequencers don't have to make a sound anyway. So you've got 2 channels, but then you can clock more than one circuit together, and you can have 6 channels. I'd like to go on the Novation keyboard, actually, the Mark III. I've been thinking about maybe buying one.
What about the launchpad? The new launchpad?
I've got the Mini.
No, if I get a launchpad, I've got circuits, haven't I? So it's too much. It's too similar.
Yeah, it's crossing over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too many blinking lights for me.
Too many pads. All right, we'll go to Darren and we'll find out from him what he thinks his favourite sequencer is.
Yeah, well, I've just been looking at the chat. So you're not going software though, are we? So.
Well, we'll try not to.
Right. Well, if you're not going software, I mean, the Push 2 is all right, but you're using software in that. The same with the MIDI Fighter. That would be a sequencer, but you're using software again. So I would say my favourite one, which is a simplest sequencer, because you can't beat a simple sequencer, is the Metropolis.
Yeah.
I think that's my favourite sequencer for just coming up with really cool little riffs and things like that. The BeatStep Pro, I have a love-hate relationship with that. So I would go with Metropolis. I can spend hours just coming up with little riffs.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Metropolis is a Eurorack sequencer. So you've only had that for a little while, haven't you? So what is it? Is it doesn't have any MIDI either? It's all CV, isn't it? That one.
Yeah, but if you have a MIDI module, then that's not a problem then.
Yeah, that's true.
So, for instance, I've got the Hermod behind, so I could probably run it back into there. So it's not an issue not having any MIDI.
Yeah,
it just means another module. But
okay.
Yeah, I would say that's it, because that's a hardware sequencer, because everything else would be software based, really. Or, I mean, you've got like the TR8, but that's sequencing drums. I know you can sequence out, but as a true standalone hardware sequencer, it'd have to be the Metropolis. BeatStep Pro second, but I just don't get on with that.
Right. Okay. Now, my interfaces. Here we go. Yay. Now, I was just going to get up my camera from overhead. I actually didn't plan to do this before, but I will do it. Okay, cool. So we're going to go to Andrew next. Tell us about your favourite sequencer.
Hang on 2 seconds, I'll even show you. Ta-da! Look, I have been through quite a few different sequencers before settling on the Deluge. As a hardware sequencer, it's my favourite because because it's also a groove box, I can just take it away and race off with it and go from there. But I went through the circuit. I bought the QI700s. I tried the motif range. I originally had an RM1X, which I absolutely loved, but unfortunately the screen died, and that's actually what set me on the journey to kind of go and buy a whole bunch of stuff, because it was just, it was so easy, and I kind of got spoiled when I had it, because it was the first hardware sequencer I ever had, and it just did things in a way that I haven't really seen anyone else. I also bought the MPC 500, which I hated. I had the SP606 for a while through a friend of mine, and I didn't like that either. I mean, there's so many different ways of doing sequencing. It all comes down to personal choice. But in the end, yeah, I was tossing up between, when I got deluge, between that and the Squat Pyramid, and I ended up going the Deluge, and I haven't regretted it, to be honest. It does some weird stuff with MIDI, but nothing I can't work around.
Yeah, the Deluge is more probably, it's more than just a sequencer. It's a bit like what Inky was saying with the Akai Force. You know, it does. It's a sampler, it's a synthesizer, it's a rompler. You know, in that sense. Yeah.
But in this,
so I could have Ableton then.
I've actually, yeah.
Yes,
except it doesn't have the computer side.
We can get to DAWs in a sec. I want to park those off to the side, because I think we're trying to do is just talk about sequences per se, whereas Ableton really is a bit more than just a sequencer, isn't it? So yeah.
Well, yeah, well, so the Deluge, because that's an instrument in itself. Are you on about like just actual sequences and that's it? Or are you just doing like a collective hardware sequencer? So,
well, you could say the Surf isn't just a sequencer either. You know,
that's what I mean.
You can have your own opinion. No one's going to shoot you down for it. That's for sure.
Well, the thing is, it's all about different kind of. So sequencers are quite expensive when they're just a sequencer. So Pioneer Squid, that's £500. It doesn't make a sound. So people do tend to look for sequencers that can do other things as well, unless you're really set on a pyramid squarp or something like that. But I was just thinking,
or the sec, yeah.
Or the noodler. The noodler's actually really kind of a sequencer. Not that you can sequence; it's a self-sequencer, really, isn't it? But it's still making things MIDI do things. But I was just thinking the Deluge. One of the reasons I picked the Force was that the Force had a screen. But in actual fact, in shortening tracks, it's better at doing that, because it is all one touch, isn't it? You can shorten the length of each track really easily on the Deluge. So I don't know about trying to think how it work, but you've definitely got more accessibility to tracks live on that than you have on the Force.
Yeah, I haven't played around with the Force directly. I think they're different beats. I know people that flick between the two, and they use them to sync them up. And I use the Deluge a lot here as purely a sequencer. So at the moment, I've got stuff hooked up which sounds horrible. I'm not going to play it, but it is all just sequencing the rest of the gear in the studio here. As long as you've got a good splitter. And I think that's always something people forget with sequencers, is that if they've only ever got, the one problem with the Deluge is it's got one MIDI out, which makes it really difficult when you say, well, I've got, a stack of gear. You've then got to go buy an extra bunch of stuff to make sure you can then spread the love around all the rest of the gear.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, as far as the Deluge is concerned, it still has a long way to go as far as being really nice on some areas, but I do like the fact that you can see the piano rolls, if you will, the actual steps quite quickly and easily, and that's the reason why I like it. But different things for different people.
Yeah, I actually really
I do like the Deluge, to be honest.
I'd love to have a go.
It's got
Aaron, you go.
It's got on the pads and everything, because it's like, and it got the small lettering for what each pad does in the menu type of thing.
That's for you, Andrew.
You mean it's got? You mean it's quite
sorry,
small?
Say that again. I missed.
I think he's trying to say that quite small writing, which puts me off as well, because I can't remember it. I couldn't remember it all, and in the dark, that's why I didn't get it.
Yeah, and look, as I said, it's not for everybody on that respect. There is actually a really good overlay that you can get that's actually white and a lot clearer. But I can't remember how much it is.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Buy that, but yeah. As I said, it's not perfect in a lot of respects, but you kind of get really used to the key combinations. Yeah. Well, fly over. We'll
swap for a week. Yeah, I'd be happy.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, it's got to be easier than sequencing on the MC303. So.
Well.
Roland, those.
Look, guys, if you want to speak about sequencers that are easy to use, I mean, that's going to be an argument that I don't think anyone's ever going to win, and because everyone will have a different opinion, and people will gravitate to different hardware, different workflows. It will make sense to some people. Like the best example of that is the Electron argument, isn't it? There's people that gravitate to the Electron way, and there's people that completely find it like hieroglyphics. So,
that's what Mikhail was saying. That's what Mikhail was saying. That was his question. That I think he's got a digitact, and he's like trying to master it, and he doesn't know whether he's gonna master it. I didn't.
He's got a noodle as well.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let me just go to a couple that I love anyway, and we can go from there because it'll introduce a few ideas. Now, obviously, the one that you guys always hear me talk about is this one, which is the Akai MPC Live. I use it every day. It's the easiest sequencer hardware-wise that I've ever used, and I did come from an MPC. I had an MPC 1000 before this, so although I did have the non-official firmware on it, the J, whatever you call it, firmware. As soon as I went across to this, it was pretty organic for me. You can transpose on this, as Inky said, but it's convoluted. You have to, think numerically how you want to transpose it. And yeah, that kind of annoys me. It'd be nice if there was like a transpose button you could hold down and then just press a note on any inputting keyboard, and it would just adhere to that. Now, I believe Akai have been working on the MIDI side of this. So maybe just put a little asterisk next to that. It's not over yet for MIDI on the Akai stuff. You know that for a fact. Now, what I thought we'd do also is I would like to sort of talk about sequences that I've bought over the years that I've actually found different sort of reasons why I've bought them, and they're pretty cool. Sometimes they're a bit quirky and you don't even think they're a sequencer. So I want to start with this one, which is the Roland TB3, not the new boutique TB03. This is the original IRA one that they brought out, the TB3. Now, the reason why I actually think this is actually a really cool sequencer is because from a performing point of view, this is actually really, really good fun. And you don't have to use the tones that are inside this. You can actually sequence external gear with it. So the performing side of it is actually really, really cool. There's some great MIDI implementation in that. You can use the internal sounds of it as well. So I just thought I'd just put a little collection here. Now, obviously, I can't bring all my sequences out, but I thought I'd start with a few. Obviously, we talked about the Noodler before. The Noodler is probably more an arpeggiator motif generator than a sequencer, but technically it's a sequencer, I guess. True to form, we were talking about sequencers that just do sequencing. You've got the Korg SQ1. Now, the Korg SQ1 does obviously CV and MIDI, which is handy. And then you've also got this one that Darren always talks about love-hate relationship with, which is the BeatStep Pro. And I don't hate this, and I don't love this. It's kind of fits somewhere in the middle. I think Arturia could have done better with it. There's a few things that they brought in later firmware with it, and they kind of missed the boat on a few things. I do like how you can transpose on it, Inky, so that's a good one for you. Very easily transpose, and but speaking of transposing, I mean, if that's the deal breaker for you, I mean, even the Roland SH101 has the transpose features. So it's kind of like manufacturers aren't putting transposers properly into their sequences. They're just not really doing their job, to be honest. I agree with Inky 100% there, so it's stupid. But there's a few anyway to show you, and obviously you guys can talk about this. Inky, you want to say something?
That's what I'm just saying. On the Akai Force, you've got all these lovely pads. You could have the track transpose and scale, and then on the bottom 4 rows, you could have the whole sequence transpose and scales. Some scales. And that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? I mean, it would make it a proper hands-on live device, whereas now I've got to go into a screen and look at some. It gets a bit.
Yeah.
You know
it
what I mean?
It takes away from the performance, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you're now thinking mathematically rather than going, oh, I feel like doing that. And because we've all mostly been brought up with like a keyboard, you kind of know where. Oh, I go to that note, Yeah. Anything that isn't. Oh, it's +3. I must remember at this point I've got to dial in +3. No, I want to hit the note that I've been hitting since the age of 5. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's just a coloured button that looks like a note. Why?
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I mean, look, from my point of view, we could talk tons and tons of sequences that are out there. Just even in here, just looking to my right here, I've got Volkers. They've got sequences on them. We've got synths that have got sequences built into them, like the Roland System 8 behind me. Then there's sequences built into the JDXI. We've even got JDXI here. There's a 3-part sequencer, 4-part sequencer in that. You got 2 digitals and a drum and a analog synth in here. And the good thing about the sequencer in this is that it can send those sequences out to an external. You don't have to use the internal tones. And I've done videos on this. And that's actually a pretty cool sequencer in there. It's not the greatest, it's not the best in the world, but it does the job. So, you'll probably find that a lot of you have got really big differing opinions. And I thought maybe we could quickly go into the chatties and just see what they thought. Because we don't want to ignore those guys. They're awesome. All right, who do we know? Electro 2, definitely, from Dot the 303 Dance. That's a good one. I definitely was going to show the Electro 2, but don't have enough space in front of me. Got it in the cupboard. I think someone mentioned the new Keystep Pro. I don't know if I know enough about that to sort of give that that's an awesome sequencer, because I haven't, who's got one? A couple of glorified YouTubers have got one. That's about it. I don't like the price of that either, to be honest. What is it? $700 for a keyboard that doesn't do anything other than sequence? I think it's a bit pricey. Sorry. It's a mini keyboard too. I think the Novation SL Mark III is better value for money than that. What else have we got? A lot of people are saying Korg Electro-Ibs are good. Yeah, definitely Korg Electro-Ibs. That always had good sequences. There's a lot of groove boxes out there. And someone mentioned, it's gone off my screen. Whoever it was, sing back in. I think it might have been Azio Head actually. You mentioned the RM1X, and I think you had a love-hate or hate relationship with the RM1X. That's by Yamaha, if anyone's wondering. This is probably late 90s, early 2000s adage. I actually had one of those as well. And the thing had the worst drifting MIDI clock I've ever heard. And sometimes it would literally just completely lose sync. And the sequencer I didn't think was that good. Heaps of people were telling me, hey, you guys should get an RM1X. They've got a really, really cool sequencer in them. Sorry, disagree. And I ended up selling mine for the same reason. So, yeah, I think it was Azio.
I'll disagree with you on that one. I love
Okay.
the RM1X. It was great.
There's people that will. In fact, there was someone who told me early days, get yourself a Sonic ESQ1 because it has a good sequencer in it. It's an 80 synth, and I got one, and I did like the user interface on it. I'm like, sorry, no way. And people see, that's the thing with sequences. People will have opinions, and unless you actually use it and play it, and actually does it work logically for you, that sequencer may not be for you. Just like we were talking about Darren before with the Beats Pro, that's worked well for lots of people, and it's not worked well. And it was supposed to be a Eurorack sort of marketing type sequencer, and you can see by Darren, he's big on Eurorack, and he just didn't like it as much. Darren, what do you think of that? The SQ1? Have you got one of those?
I know I wanted one, but no, I think they're quite cool because it's a bit like, I suppose you could say it's a bit Metropolis-like because basically it's quite simple. It's very simple, isn't it?
Very simple, and it's very
it's
very good for performance. It's just so hands-on. Plus, it's also CV and everything as well. Yeah. I just thought I'd mention that while I've got the SQ1 out. I've actually been playing with it today, and it just sits so beautifully in my rack just here. But you can see it better here. So it just fits in there nicely like that. And I was just doing a bit of a Google to sort of work out, has anyone actually fitted these things to Eurorack? And lo and behold, there's a Thingiverse article on converting the SQ1 power to Eurorack. You can see that they've done a little breadboard mod there. And then, look, there's the Arturia rack root with a SQ1 mounted. Isn't that awesome?
That's quite cute, isn't it? That's quite. I bet you want to do that.
You just get yourself a 3D printer and go and do that. Look at all the little bits. And you can go nutso. But I think I probably will. I think it looks awesome. And then you get that thing inside your Eurorack. It's already powered by your Eurorack. You don't have to put your USB into it. And then you can just go crazy. So, I mean, what are they worth, guys? And someone in the chat could probably remind me how much an SQ1 is. They're not that expensive, are they? They're pretty cheap.
About £90.
That is so cheap.
Yeah.
And it runs off batteries too, if you want to do it that way. So yeah, in terms of sequences, what else have we had? Anyone else been paying attention to the chatties? Geez, it's been hard for me today to pay attention to the chatties. Sorry about chatties. I really apologise. Still I can see lots of people saying Electro, which I do apologise. I didn't bring my Electro out. I've got Electro 2 sampler, Electro ER1, EA1, and ES1. They're the Electrobes in my collection. They're sitting in the cupboard over there. I do like the Electrobes, definitely. Xils-labs is saying the best standalone sequencer ever is the Yamaha QY10. Okay. Let's add that to the queue. What about the DFAM? Mikkel's asking about. So who here has got a DFAM?
Yep, I've got a DFAM.
Darren, tell us about the DFAM.
Yep. As a sequencer, it's a bizarre beast. Inverted Pops will say that. It's whether I'd use it as a sequencer standalone, probably not, because it doesn't sequence quite in the same way as you expect sequencers to do. And it's all CV out anyway, because there's no MIDI in it or anything like that. So,
So in terms of sequencing external gear with it can use the CV.
It'd have to be Eurorack.
Yeah.
Yeah, CV. Yeah. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I won't buy it for a sequencer. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. So Mikkel, I know Mikkel, you were sort of saying that you sort of was part of the stream this week because you thought the topic was interesting for you because you're thinking about getting a sequencer. So tell us what is in your gun sights. What is on your hit list that you're interested in getting, and maybe you can get some opinions from us and the people in chatties. Maybe some of the things you've mentioned, grandmother's sequencer and the Erebus. So you actually used the grandmother's sequencer and MIDI'd into the Erebus and DeepMind. Okay. Yep, fair enough. So yeah, is there anything else if there's anything else, well, there's an Erebus, new Erebus just come out, isn't there? The Erebus 3. So
yeah, my Erebus 3 and the NYX or Nix.
While we're waiting on those people to sort of talk about, okay, so Mikkel's saying Deluge. So, Mikkel, the best person is in this show right now to talk about Deluge is Andrew, and I mean he knows that thing inside out, and he'll say knows the developer, and so yeah, talk to Andrew. Ask him questions. We'll pop him up, and he can answer them for you.
Actually, I want to ask Darren a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
The Hermiod, is that how you pronounce it? That's the one that's done by Squarp.
Hermod.
Yeah, but
yeah,
is that a sequencer? Is that good or not?
Yeah, they do a desktop version. It's a good sequencer. It depends what you're looking for, but yeah, you can do quite a lot with it. I don't know if you can see it from here actually. It's this one here. But they do a desktop, and they do. I think it's a pyramid, which is bigger, which is a lot better if you want to do a hardware standalone set on your desk sequencing. I think it's a good sequencer. A little bit of a learning curve, but once you've got it, it's cool because you can do a lot with sending out MIDI messages. I mean, you can do like envelope. You can do like LFO and stuff on the Eurorack version.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, I thought I'd mention too, while we're at it, I should never ever forget to mention the Squarp Pyramid as a sequencer. Now, I actually don't have one, and I'd love to get one. They, I really need to sort of explore that. I actually believe that it might actually be the holy grail for me. I've watched a lot of videos on that sequencer, and it looks really, really cool. There's a lot of mangling that you can do with your sequence once you've got it that we can't do Inky on our Akai firmwares. But to some degree you can do on a Deluge, but nowhere near to the degree you can on a Squarp.
And that's where the Hermod is, because that's like in the same family.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah. That's just Eurorack version. Well, I looked into the Pyramid, and so it's got an XY pad that you can do, like you can send MIDI CC messages to, hasn't it? Yep. On the Pyramid.
Yes.
We could do that on the Akai stuff. I'm just worried how many menus you have to go through on it.
Yeah.
I mean, how quick is it, Darren?
The videos that I've watched, there's a lot of key combinations that you learn. It's kind of similar to the way the Electron gear can be, where you don't have to menu dive. It's key combinations, and then you learn those, and then it becomes a performing sort of thing.
It's a bit like I'd say a lot of sequences. You've got to learn the little nuances and the sort of learning curve of that sequencer. It's not a pure out. Like I say, the Metropolis, I would say, is basically a pure out. You don't need to learn it. You just push the button and move the sliders, and that's your sequence. It's sorted. But most sequences you do have to learn in some degree or other. Even a DAW you have to learn.
Yeah, of course. Someone's mentioned the Circlone, which is definitely another really good sequencer. They're a little bit pricey, the Circlones, though, but they are real stable. Andrew will probably back me up on that. They've got very well regarded MIDI clocks and stable forms of sequencing.
And they're interesting because they've actually got 5 MIDI ins and 5 MIDI outs, plus USB hosting and a range of other things. I'd love to see a really good, and maybe I've just missed it, it's a really good video on how they actually work and how they actually, because lots of people rave about them, but it's very difficult to see, this is how I'd make a track with it. What kind of sequencer it is. The other one that someone else mentioned before is the MIDI box Seek 4 Plus or whatever it is, which looks to me very similar to a Circlone, and it's probably about half the price and a lot more readily available.
Is that not the
that's
black
another
box?
one I think would be. No. This one's it's done by there's the SEQ.
Set.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
Yeah, but it's only half the price of Circlone. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Well, that's
comparing
true,
it to
yeah.
Circon, it's not.
I think it's 530
And that's the way
euros
payment.
versus. Yeah.
Oh, but the,
Sorry.
And
but
I will
the guy who rocks up with the Circon is also the guy that rocks up to the club in his Ferrari as well, isn't he? Sorry. Keep going, Andrew.
I think
We need to set up.
circle on here.
Let Andrew finish.
Saw a second-hand circle on here, and it was going for $5,500 on eBay.
Yeah.
So, if you want one, you pay for it. But I'm not paying that for a sequencer.
Does that make a sound?
Well, I think we should set up a rent sequencer. You rent a sequencer for 2 weeks. We have an array of sequencers you can rent, and then you can find out what sequencer suits you and in your situation.
Yeah, you can't really do that, can you, with those music stores? Well, not in my country anyway. Oh, you opened the box, you know. Andrew's disappeared.
He's gone off to get one.
Do the 303 dance in the chat is saying, I wish you guys could see my setup. Well, you never know, mate. If you like, you can always come onto the show. We do, you know, weird and wonderful things. We had Andrew Brooks, who's just popped a comment right below you, the chat last week, and he's welcome back as well, by the way. So yeah, it's all you need is a browser, a webcam, and a microphone. And usually webcams have microphones built in, so browser and a webcam will get you in. So yeah, if you're interested, we would like to see your setup. We always do. That's what we're about. Now, I'm trying to sort of keep an eye on what everyone has been saying. So let's have a look at the few. I popped a few in. Oh yeah, we did miss out on a couple. So let's see what it says here. So how about the pyramid? We said that one. The OPZ is a brilliant mobile sequencer. So people have been flagging the OPZ in front of me lately. I've been seeing them pop up everywhere. I'd like to put a pin on that. We'll talk about the OPZ in a sec. And we mentioned that one before, the Yamaha QYS10. I don't really know a lot about that, so you'll probably have to tell me about that another time. And then we had what about the DFAM from Mikkel? I think it's about to pop in. All right, cool. So I was going to say, the OPZ, that thing, I don't know. I sold my OP1, as you guys know, at the start of the year, and now I've realised that I actually don't miss it. Speaking of sequencers, though, the OP1 was a pretty good sequencer. It actually had quite an easy-to-use interface on it. So technically, if the OP1 I found easy to use, and they were always saying the OPZ was easier to use, you didn't even need a screen on it. So, and it's one less thing to fail, of course. A lot of people are saying the OPZ is actually really good. And I don't know, any of you guys here had any experience with the OPZ? No?
No.
I've got a friend who loves his, and he's really good on it, and I know it's really good for performance tricks. So, it would be quite good for like dance music, because it's got a lot of stuttering effects that you could apply to MIDI. But it's just a bit small. I think you'd have to blue tack it or gaffer tape it to the table, wouldn't you? Does it just move? Is that just me?
I don't know. It's to me.
And how much is it now?
Well, that's the thing. Someone was saying it's very expensive in the chat, and I actually don't know how much they own. Someone could probably Google that whilst we're chatting. Yeah,
Is it about £500?
£500. That's a lot of money. It's pretty small, isn't it? It's only about that big. So
yeah, it's very small, very plasticky as well.
The OP1 was pricey as well, wasn't it? So
how easy is that to then sequence on the gear, though? I mean, the OP1 and the OPZ, how easy are they to sequence on the gear?
Well, everything was USB based, so you needed a USB host, Andrew, in that case. And I always found that part of it difficulty with the OP1. You either had to go into your DAW and then back out, or you had to have some sort of USB host set up, which I always found a bit of a pain. With the OPZ, isn't there a module thing you can get for Inky where you can get CV connectivity into it and all that sort of stuff as well, or am I thinking of something else?
There's something that you take the
was...
back off for. I can't remember what it is, but
yeah, I could definitely remember something in terms of
the whole USB thing is just another. I don't do USB MIDI really because it's just another thing. I'd have to buy a USB MIDI hub, and I mean, I can get stuff in the Akai stuff via MIDI, or send out MIDI USB. But if it doesn't come with it as an optional extra, I'm sticking with old-fashioned MIDI, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where the sequencer comes in there, isn't it? Because you need a sequencer that's going to have outs to sequence things. You don't want to be going into your door and back out to sequence, and you don't want to be just onboard sequencing. You need something that actually has outs to sequence whatever you want to sequence.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to what we were saying at the start, wasn't it? Where we were saying, really, are we defining a proper sequencer as something that is built to sequence other things? Technically that's probably really the true sequencer, isn't it? That.
I think it has to be
about
sequence.
6 MIDI outs. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm kind of.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to buy a splitter and boxes.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes. It doesn't become a sequence in a way, does it?
Hang on, we're all talking at the same
Everyone's
time.
getting. We're all.
All right.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Let's go
on
to
the back
Andrew.
of a sequencer.
Show that again. What was that?
That is a 15-way MIDI splitter.
Jeez.
for overkill. Homemade.
Right,
So
now we just need to build a box round it now as a sequencer.
Yeah, that's right.
Guys, I need to build that on my stream, don't I?
Yeah.
Like when I did the Me Blip. Inky was showing her MIDI hub, I think. Show us your MIDI hub, Inky.
No, it's rubbish now compared to Andrew. Andrew, how much to need to make you one of those, mate? Mate, mine's just looking small now.
I think it cost me about $50.
Is it a through or a splitter, though? Does it do through?
It's a through, yeah. So it's 1 in, 15 out, but it's actually you don't get any signal loss.
Yeah. So it's like a Me Blip times 3, basically.
Yeah. It's exactly that.
Cool. Awesome. We've disgusted Darren. He's just been disgusted by the whole conversation.
I feel like I've thrown down the gauntlet. He's going off to get something that's going to have 50 on there or something.
No, he's gone to the garage to make it.
He's got
there
his.
We go.
Yeah, this is his. He's gone into the eBay room where he has all his expensive eBay gear in.
Yeah. Someone mentioned it in the chat. So.
Oh, the Alesis, yeah, they did actually. The MMT8 was through the 303 dance that mentioned it. What's his name? Thaddeus Veloso has mentioned the RK006, Andrew. So
yes.
can we?
Yes.
We should announce this. I don't know when we're going to get him on, but okay. Why don't we roll the gauntlet here? So we've been talking with the one of the owners of Retro Kits, and we're trying to get him on to our midweek MIDI show, which is every second Wednesday. We've only just done one Wednesday, so the next one's 2 Wednesdays away, and it's just me and Andrew and whoever else we can rope in to come onto the show. Poor Adhan, he was roped in on Wednesday, but he did an awesome job. But yeah, if we can get, we're trying to get him to come on. So it'll be awesome to get him because we want him to talk about the RK006. I think it's a pretty cool bit of kit, and Andrew's got one. So although I would love to have one, but I just don't have any money right now. Yeah, a lot of things I would love to have. I think we're all in the same boat. But yeah, do the 303 dance, Darren. He wants you to plug in your MMP. Trent.
The MMT8.
Yeah.
I can't. I need the power supply for it. It's gone. But this has MIDI out. Look at that.
I'm getting a YouTube error at the moment, guys. Sorry. Here we go. It's
someone's
back on.
got a lag and a delay. All right.
I'm getting a YouTube error. I don't know what's going on. We're getting some streaming problems. Yeah.
I think it might be back on now. It's all right. I'm seeing it all right.
Yeah, it's definitely throwing errors at me. So I don't know why it's causing that. I don't want to stop it. Something's causing it. Anyway, something weird. Anyway,
Look all right at my end.
That always puts a downer on the show, doesn't it? When we have problems. Yeah, I'm getting alarms. I'm getting alarms from YouTube, and I'm getting alarms from my streaming software. So I don't know what's going on. We might have to try our best to wrap the show up anyway. Anyone else want to throw? Triple Eight Berg's asking
the Zoom.
Oh, Inky, did you want to do your circuit example? Have you got time to do that? Do you have something to show?
No, I was just going to show you how it transposes by pads and Mono Akai, that I wanted Akai to do the same on the force to make it like what I want it to be, really, and alter the lengths by pad, like sequence lengths by pads. Sorry.
Okay. Well, so I'm guessing that's a no. Yeah, I don't know really what Triple Eight Berg wants us to show. Simple sequences, other than that, other than what I can do on an MPC. I can show them a little bit of that, I guess. Where we go, we can go there. I'm still getting errors on YouTube, so I don't know how good this is going to go.
Well, some people saying it was dropping a little bit out, but it's all right now.
You can see signals there. There you go. Let's mute all the others and you can follow that. You can hear an arpeggiator in the background as well. With mute. All right, so you want to transpose it? You have to do this. And you can't. And you can't skip.
I just transpose them in my laptop.
You've got to go. You've either got to scroll with your scroll wheel, or you've got to hit that, so like that, and then literally type in a number. So I might want to, well, and then go and do it. So that's the trans. I don't know if you guys can hear me when I was talking then, because I've got this special NVIDIA thing going on. That's the transpose thing that Inky was talking about, and it's the same on the Force as well as the MPC range. So it is a bit of a pain. Unlike, like for example, I always talk about the SH101. It'd be nice, Darren, if you showed how that worked on there, but that's okay. For example, on the what do you call it? The BeatStep Pro.
Sorry, the SH101.
Yeah, you got a transpose feature on that. So I think it's always been very intuitive. Yeah.
Isn't it the same as the Behringer the way? Have they done it? I can't remember.
No, they're different. Yeah.
All right.
But when you play the sequence on the Behringer and you just hit a note, it'll transpose. But with I was going to show this. Sorry, with the BeatStep and a few other type of key steps and key step pros, you just hit the transpose button and then correspond to the note, and that's basically what Inky is going to show us now on her circuit.
So tell me if you can hear this. Can you hear it?
Not yet. No, we're not hearing it.
No?
No, not hearing it.
What? Oh, hold on. That's because I'm an idiot. You hear it?
No.
No.
I can hear Andrew.
Sorry.
Can't hear that now.
No,
What?
we can't hear it. If you want to come, we'll come back to you. I'm still getting streaming errors, by the way, so people will probably only seeing part of a stream. Yeah, so we didn't talk about DAWs, and I think probably now is a good time to. Well, Inky, while you get yourself sorted, we'll talk about DAWs briefly. So, whilst you've got all this hardware gear out there, one of the other options is just to use a DAW. And how good are the sequencers in DAWs? They're brilliant, aren't they? You know, who wants to? Darren, you're probably the best person to start with because you're pretty much in the box, aren't you? So, tell us a little bit about why.
No, I'm half and half.
Tell us about what you do with Ableton, anyway. You know, if someone's thinking about Ableton, for example.
Well, I'm half and half, but like you're saying, the sequencing side, yeah, probably I would say more in the box than out. But when you look at it, if you look at like the Deluge and the other, it's a very similar thing, isn't it? Really, the only difference is the computer and your screen is like it'd be like your Akai Force basically. So you're not doing anything different. It's just that you've just got a lot more power and a lot more ideas to move things around in the box. That's all. I mean, I don't think it's, if you're playing live, you know, it's hard to explain. If you're a hardware and that's what it is, then obviously a DAW is not going to be any good for you because you want to be, you know, playing it hardware with just the one box or two boxes. But to move around, like, you know, if you use the Push 2 or any MIDI controller, because I mean, if you use a MIDI fighter, you can get that off sequencing.
Or Machina.
Or Machina. I mean, it's endless, isn't it? So it's hard to say why you would choose a DAW over hardware. It, like I say, it all depends on the environment you're in. While I'm in the studio, the DAW is a lot easier for me to use any of this equipment around in the studio than a hardware sequencer would be, because I'm just there's no limit to what I can sequence where there would be on a hardware sequencer, if you follow.
So keep talking, and what I'm going to do is while you're talking, Darren, I'm going to show my Ableton pen, so you can just talk about like just with sequencing. So this is the different views. This is the session view, which is kind of like a mixing console, and then you've got the arrange view, and
your session view, I don't know, but I use it as the idea view, where you bang ideas together and then move into the arrangement view to put out your project. But I mean, you can map you know, MIDI controllers. You can map to Ableton, so you become like a hardware sequencer. Even if you get me, even though you're running it in the computer, you're still hands-on sequencing.
Yep.
Especially some of the Max for Live devices.
These are audio clips, but you can see you can do audio clips and you can also do MIDI clips in these as well. I think there's any MIDI clips in this one, I don't think. And then obviously if you're recording directly into your arranger view, that's kind of how that works there. So there's a lot of control, isn't there, Darren? You know, you've got audio, MIDI, you know, all together in one kind of view, and that may be, in your mind, that may be what you're wanting as a sequencer. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last video I put out, last week's video, it's just a routine day. You can see me working on a track. I know it's in quick time, but you get the sort of gist of, you know, you're doing some sampling, you're doing some sequencing outside the box, but into the box, and then resequencing it when you're in there. So it's a multitude of things, I think. Well, even resequencing some of the stuff, you know, if it's not quite how you. I mean, there's a couple of tracks that are not released yet, but are done with the Metropolis. The riffs are all done with the Metropolis, and that's only, you know, I mean, that can go up to, I think it's 32 steps. But it's only a single synth, but you just combine them up in the DAW. So, like I say, the deluge is great. It's just, it all depends on what you want to do and whether you want to be in the box or out the box completely. Or as me, I work in and out the box, so I can see the benefits to hardware and software.
Well, I mean, let's go back to that view again. I actually work in and out of the box. So if you look at this, this is actually one of my tracks that I've released. It is all hardware that I've ordered into from. It's actually been sequenced mainly from the MPC, but I've recorded it into Ableton so I can multi-track it. And then once I've multi-tracked it, I can then edit it. So you can see this is kind of how I've edited. I've sliced it all up, and I've, you know, used automation and things like that to show how that all kind of fits in. So you can't do a lot of that sort of stuff on certain sequences. Well, definitely you can't use the you know, the sort of mixing automation and stuff like that. So really, you know, some people may argue that it's better to use a computer for a sequencer because you're already you're going to end up there anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like you're already going to get all your gear, plug it in, and end up there. So why not start from there? So I mean, I've heard this argument a lot.
Yeah.
Now,
like, this is pros and cons, isn't there, Rans? I mean, like you say, if you're playing live, obviously you're still going to be using hardware, so as well as software. I mean, people play live with a laptop and some MIDI controllers.
Yeah.
It's just basically a simple thing as a deluge in a way, isn't it? You're just taking more kit out and hoping that it don't break. Whereas with the deluge, you just got the one box and you sort of, you know, it's pretty hardware and you can, I assume, pretty beat that around. Whereas your Mac laptop, you go and drop that.
Dot the 303 dance. We have mentioned briefly the black box. I don't really know enough about it, to be honest. So if you want to know more about that, go check out Loopop, his channel, and there's a few others that have got that. Yeah, it's more a sampler sort of sequency box thing. I don't really know much about it. Sorry, Inky, did you manage to get your get it working?
Can you hear it? Can you hear that now?
No.
Well, I'm a rubbish sound engineer then, because I mean, this is simple as it gets. It's to go, you know, I know the wire works because I took it out of the work and stuff. I put it in one. You know, I don't know. I give up.
It's typical, isn't it? It's typical. If I was to like switch my Metropolis on now, you can guarantee that it won't be able to get it to work.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, you can just look at my nice cable management over here on the right-hand side of the MPC.
Don't look too closely.
I can demonstrate what I mean by not making a sound, but it's not quite the same thing, is it?
No, it's not. But that's okay. We can always revisit it. That's for sure.
Well, you could always go and it does go up.
Yeah,
you can always hum it.
John's saying that he doesn't get Ableton. You I have to admit, it took me ages. It took me ages to get into Ableton, and it was only because I bought some hardware and it had Ableton on it. And at the time, this is going back a long time ago. This is going back maybe 15, 20 years ago. Maybe not 20, maybe 15. And I bought some Akai hardware, and it had Ableton Lite free version on it, and I needed a DAW. And I remember the first time I loaded it on my computer, I had a Mac, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my God, what have I got myself into? It was like, what? And it took me a long, long time to learn to use it. So I can definitely see why people wouldn't get it. And I used to use, as a DAW before that, and I think I've told you guys this before on the stream, I used to use Cakewalk. And I used Cakewalk for so many years. A lot of people were on Cubase, I was Cakewalk. So, because I was always, I don't know, there was something about Cubase that didn't stick with me in a nice way. and maybe it was I had a bad experience with. I can't remember. It's going back a long time anyway. But back to the 90s. That's how long ago that is. But yeah, in this kind of break I had from music, it was a long time. It was like about maybe 8 or 9 years that I had a break from music. I came back and I bought some gear, and then I didn't have a DAW, and I bought this Akai MIDI controller, and it had Ableton on it. I thought I've got to have something, so I loaded that up. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of free DAWs, so I loaded that up, and yeah, straight away here I am looking at. It wasn't anything like this, but looking at something like that for the first time ever, going, oh, what do you? And there wasn't any manuals. The internet wasn't that great for YouTube or anything at that time, so it was really, really very slow going for me. So I can completely understand why you may not be falling in love with Ableton. That's for sure.
Well, I started off with Cubase in the early days before I had a break like you, Rans. I started off with Cubase. I've used Pro Tools and Logic, and I just can't get. A lot of people love Logic, and I just don't get on with it. So I ended up in Ableton, and ever since, I think once you drop into a DAW of your choice, whichever one your brain seems to get round, because everyone's different. So some people love Logic; they just get into it straight away. Once your brain clicks to that DAW, you usually stay in that DAW, and that's why you move along upgrading path. And each DAW's not for everyone. A lot of people don't like Ableton, a lot of people do. And if you happen to find that Logic, Cubase, Studio One, the list's Bitwig even, if that works for you, then that's your DAW.
Also, Reason as well is another big one.
Reason that's come out.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say with Ableton, like I said, it took me. I'm in a bit of a slow learner sometimes. Being a computer guy, it was kind of weird that it took me so long to learn it. But then one day, it just it went click, and I went, oh, actually, this is really cool. I can do, and I was trying, being a geeky sort of guy, I wanted to do all these kind of tricks. Like automation is a big thing for me. I want to automate things so I don't have to do them by hand or remember to do it. So, like, I want tracks to sort of automatically fade in and fade out, and I want to have filters on, software-based stuff doing that automatically. So I had to learn how to do that. And once I actually started dwelling into the deeper parts of the software, I thought to myself, yeah, this is actually really cool, and it's worth, pursuing a bit more. And I know that a lot of them can do that sort of stuff. Like, there's people saying that Logic can do just as much as Ableton, and Cubase can as well. So that's really, I'm from the camp where if you use Logic, you're just as cool as someone who uses Ableton, and who's just as cool as someone who uses Cubase. That's the camp I'm from.
It's the end product in the end.
It's what comes out. It's what you export as a track. It's the most important thing. So that's why kind of, in a way, with the sequencing topic today, we left that DAW omnibus behemoth topic towards the end, because really, where do you want to go with it? It's so big topic.
It's like all these sequences, isn't it? They're all slightly different, and you've just got to find the right one for you, because we're all different and they all work differently. And there's some of them are similar, some of them have pros and cons. You just got to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
We just had a couple of people pop into chat too just then. I just noticed it. Really cool. I just want to quickly say good day to the latecomers. We've got Dazza, the Intergalactic Federation. What are you doing up? It's really late over here's way of the world. Mark Christopher's jumped in. We've got David Hopkins jumped in. And Berkut has also jumped in. So nice to see you guys. Also mentioned John before as well. So it's really cool having you guys pop in. I know we're a little bit later than normal today, so maybe that's what it is. Awesome.
One thing I was
it's Andrew. I mean,
yeah, go Andrew.
Sorry. Actually, one of the things that we talk about, the history of things we go through. The one thing I have found is you've got to find a DAW that's actually fun to use. Like, I've been through so many of the different DAWs, and I think that's why I kind of stopped using a lot of them, because I actually just found them a real chore and a drag just to get things around. And I think, I go back to some of the early stuff where I found was actually fun was things like FL Studio, and someone else mentioned it was Acid. You know, when it was still Soundforge's Acid. You know, they were just good fun. You know, making rubbish, it didn't really matter. Yeah, and I wasn't sitting there going, I need to produce a track. It's got to be of a certain quality, or I wasn't worried about whether the reverb was right. It just became fun, and then that led to better music because it wasn't such a drag to and I didn't have to fight the system that I was actually going through. And I think that the big problem with a lot of the later stuff is you say with things like Ableton. I tried Ableton, and it just didn't click for me because it was the drag to get into how do I use it. I mean, I should go back and redo it. I just don't need to. It's probably the main reason. But yeah, I think we really need to sort of rediscover that fun.
Yeah, get back to making tracks. Whatever floats your boat, isn't it? Yeah. Darren, you were going to say something? Or you've moved on?
Well, he almost answered the question because I was going to say, Andrew, how did you sort of come out of the AWs or not get into them as much? But it's like we say, it's whatever you click with and find, and as Andrew says, whatever is fun. Because that's what music's all about, basically. You've got to enjoy doing it, not find it as a chore. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. You've got to enjoy doing it, whatever style of music or quality comes out. So if a specific hardware sequencer instrument works for you and you enjoy that, that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, don't forget to hit the record button. I don't know how many times I've told people this, and it's
I've done that many.
They're like looking at me going, "Oh yeah." Do you know what? And they tell me a story about when they forgot to hit the record button.
Especially in modular.
Yeah. So there's a big fat record button on just about any of these things that you use, like Ableton and MPCs and that, and just hit it. Just hit the record button. At the end of the day, happy accidents happen, and when you don't hit the record button, that's when the best happy accident happens. Big law.
I think I'm going to make a huge red button with record on it so I can just hit it.
Like those joke buttons that you get, that you get from the joke shops, are big ones.
Yeah.
Make a MIDI controlled one.
I need one of them. Because many a time I've been messing about in modular and going, oh, that is great. And then I turn around and go, I've not hit record. And I've moved the patch leads and everything.
How many times have we forgotten to hit record? I mean, that setup behind me then, I'm actually not in a situation where I can record in Ableton all the time. I'm kind of it's just me just jamming around. So I find myself recording onto the SD card on video quite a lot. It's actually a video recording. And I'm ending up with these little audio snippets on video all the time that I have to extract out of the video from other software. But yeah, whatever.
Does that go to our thing that you were saying a while back, Ramsey, with you like everything to be movable, where I like everything to be linked up?
It does. Yeah. Are you punishing me?
Oh, Jam, that was my advantage, because anything I start now, it's all recordable in Ableton there and ready to go.
Yeah. Well, don't worry too much, because where that keyboard that you can see there, literally the screen of the Mac is literally right there. I'm touching it. So it's not far for me to lean over and press record. I'm just being lazy sometimes. It's like we all get. A lot of people are mentioning things like Cubase and stuff like that. So yeah, that's cool. I think
they're all good. They're all good.
Look, is there any topic that you guys in chat think that we should have talked about? And we're talking about sequences. David Hopkins saying, what about the mono station? How it's getting cheap now. Well, guess what? Last year the mono station was cheap, wasn't it, Nikki? They were 50% off last year as well. So it looks like Novation have still got stock they want to get rid of on that mono station. I bought my mono station last year, 50% off the retail price plus free international shipping. And that's before the Australian dollar was worth 2 cents American. Anyway, so back then it was only $300 Australian to buy a circuit mono station, which is amazing. And I could probably sell that today and make an amazing profit. Not that I would, because I actually love it. It's actually pretty cool. You still got yours, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
You got 2. Wow,
Yeah,
fantastic. So yeah, get yourself a circuit mono station, because they've got it's pretty much a Novation circuit with a bass station too. You know, together in the same. And Andrew's pointing at his. They're actually probably one of my favourite little sequencer synth combinations in one. They're actually really cool. Plus, they've got a little bit of CV in them as well, so you can rack it. Good MIDI implementation. It does the what's that new firmware they call it again? The affix mode or something. Affix mode, isn't it? Yeah.
That was for the base station 2.
It doesn't work on the circuit, does
mono
it?
station already had it. Mono station already kind of has it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because each
I don't think it works on
you
the.
can actually have as a different patch.
Okay.
yes. So what you got is the Apex thing that we've already had since version 2 update, is it? Which is a patch change,
right.
so you can have a different patch on every step. So it's actually a little bit less fiddly than the base station, but you don't get that nice acid filter you've got on the base station. So it's a bit of a... But
nice.
you get the CV.
I wouldn't
get
say
the
it's
CV
nice.
on the station.
I wouldn't say it's nice.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But having said that, you guys see the Novation video that just got put out a couple of days ago with that demonstration of the base station 2 and how they were using the affix mode on the base station 2. You know, I mean, think about how old's that synth? 2012, 2013 it came out, and it's still really, you know, in the forefront of a lot of people's gear. It's pretty amazing. And yeah, it's got a little sequence.
I put that down to the fact that Novation is actually one of the few companies that goes, we do a product and we're just going to keep releasing firmware while that product is still out there, which is something I think why people go, well, I'll buy a base station 2 because they still support it. You know, the same with the circuit. They're still releasing firmware updates for the circuit. You know, I think that's why people keep buying them, and they have a high resale value. It's because people, you know, they don't go, well, I bought this thing and it's got this bug, and well, no one's ever going to fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, all the updates have been really good ones as well, haven't they? They haven't been bug fixes. Yeah. They've been let's make it do more and more stuff, and it's really good. Do unquantized MIDI. That's quite good. You know?
I've actually been thinking about having a segment, Inky, on adding a new segment on the show, and I think we should call it our weekly rant, or I was going to call it Ramsey's rant, but I don't want it just to be my rant, because I know, Inky, you like to have a good rant, and you know, I definitely don't want to just be me. But geez, look, we were talking before about software and about subscription, and really how it's just pie in the face at the moment with people, right? Well, the other one that really just gets my goat up is we're talking about just then how Novation keep updating their firmware and they don't charge anyone for it. And I think that's just such loyalty breeding in their brand and their product. It just really, really breeds, you know, you're going to have fanboys for Novation just because of that. And if you don't like the word fanboy, then bad luck. That's a good term. But then you've got companies who write software. Yeah, go.
It's been proved by the Facebook groups, hasn't it? I mean, the Facebook circuit group is such a big, good, happy community. Everyone's happy. No one's going, oh, I wish I did this or this. Everyone's like, isn't it great? I've made this. And
exactly.
You know, so
it's a lot of happy people because, you know, they're feeling the love. That's what it is. They're feeling the love. They're getting the support from the company that they bought the gear from. They're not getting a bit of vaporware hardware, are they? It's kind of, it's sticking with them, and it's still remaining relevant because of that backing of that hardware. But the rant that I've got is kind of to do with, Inky, with what you were saying before about, you know, software and not necessarily subscriptions, but people that update software. So, for example, some of the music industry software can be pretty expensive, and I'm not going to mention any names just yet because I don't want to get anyone's noses out of joint. But you know, when you buy software, whether it be a plugin, a VST, whether it be a DAW, it doesn't have to be. I'm not going to point anything because I don't want anyone to find out what I'm talking about specifically here. But I am talking about something specific, is what I'm talking about.
You can point it out.
When you buy, you're spending a lot of money, especially Australians. We don't have any money because everything is so expensive here. It's double the price. And then 6 weeks later, they bring an update out and they want you to pay for that update. And all they're willing to do is give you a loyalty discount for an upgrade because you've already bought it previously. I absolutely loathe that business model. I think people that buy in to a software platform should be looked after, not absolutely, taken advantage of. Because one of the things they know, once you're in it, they've got you and you're going to have to stick with it. But I don't think that's a very good,
especially when
good model. Yeah.
No, especially when you've invested that software. What happens? It happens to be you've invested yourself in that to do what you want to do, and then all of a sudden, bang. I mean, I think Ableton started a long time ago, didn't they? When they started doing loads of updates, you didn't have to pay for, so it was like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, until a major update, obviously.
Yeah.
But when they drag you in for the software and then sort of go, okay, now you need to pay X amount per month for you to use that, it's like, I really don't like subscriptions. And I see some idea behind it, but I don't like them.
I'll give you an example. Like, people will argue with me and say, "Oh, but Ramsey, that's how those companies make their money." Well, not necessarily, and that all could be how they lose customers as well. So just think about that for a second. The guys that build this software that makes the stream happen, they're Australian, and you pay quite expensively, but you pay once for a license, and arguably it's pretty cheap if you're in the broadcasting industry. It's actually pretty cheap. Because the video world, the photography and camera and video world, is far more expensive than the music world. We're actually pretty lucky in the music world. Video world is worse. But you get this software, and then they bring out updates, and they actually don't sting you for an extra fee until you get free updates for a year. And then after a year, you just have to pay $60, and it's called a support. They give you free tech support with that $60 plus free updates. $60 is not a lot of money when you consider that you've spent over $1,000 for the software license in the first place. It's very small. Whereas there's a lot of companies that, I think who I was talking about, you might spend $1,000 on their software, and then 6 months later they'd bring an update out, and you've got to spend $800 to upgrade to their latest version. Well, I don't get it. To me, it's like, I'm not gonna buy your crap anymore because you're just not showing me any loyalty.
And that's how a lot of newcomers get stung, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Well, that's what completely put me off software, really, because it's a minefield to look into what companies do that and don't. And even the ones that don't do it at the moment could do it unless they've got a long history of not being like that. Yeah. So you've got to do your research, because software's expensive, really.
Yeah.
Isn't it, really?
Yeah. It's not necessarily expensive on the Akai. It's expensive in the long term. That's where the expensive is. It's everything about it. It's the computer that you got to keep upgrading. It's the software that you got to keep repurchasing. That's the expensive part of it.
It's all an ongoing cost rather than...
It's a trap. Yeah.
Well, if they take you along...
Well,
if they take you along, you're much more likely to stick with them and buy their products further on, rather than sort of go...
It's a business model. It's not a... It's not a... It's not like a fanboy club, is it? But I bought this thing from Roland. Probably not a great example, but anyway, okay, I won't use that as an example.
Put it back down.
I bought this thing from these guys, and this is a better example. These guys have been bringing out firmware updates for this thing literally ever since they brought it out, and each time they bring a firmware update from this, it's free. So same as Novation, and I haven't had to buy a new one because the computer in it isn't fast enough, or pay a license fee for an upgrade. They just give it to you. So I don't get why software companies do the same thing.
Well, Electron do a little bit of that kind of stuff, don't they? I think they bring out a new box rather than just update the computer inside. I have a funny feeling that, what was it? Was it the rhythm that can sample now?
Yep.
But some of the boxes could receive hardware upgrades, and some of them they just kind of did a Mark II, even on the newer boxes, didn't they? Even the written, is there a written Mark II? Or am I imagining that?
No, there is. Yeah, there's a rhythm. Yeah. There's a
but that's
track. Yeah.
Yeah, but the space between the written Mark I and Mark II was only like a couple of years, was it? A year?
Yeah, it was not much.
Wasn't really. Yeah, so I get why there had to be an Octatrack too, because it'd been 10 years. But you're not telling me there's much difference between that written 1 and written 2, except some firmware upgrade,
So that was the Analog 4 that I showed you, Inky. That was the Mark I.
Inky, Inky, I think one of the best examples I've ever seen of that is the Korg KP3 and the KP3 Plus. And to this day, I actually can't figure out what the difference was between them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very little. Very little.
More by DJ effects, I think. That you wouldn't actually use.
Probably. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in the chat are sort of echoing the sentiment that we're saying. It's people. I understand these companies have to make money, but I think that there's ways to make money, and there's ethical ways, and there's just complete corporate greed ways. And people were mentioning in the chat about DAWs, and they think DAWs are expensive. I agree. I think most DAWs are really expensive for what they are. Some of them have they have tiered versions of it, like they might have a light and a home and a semi-pro and a studio, like sort of get people in and out of different versions. But look at is it Reaper? Is it Reaper that's only $60 or Reason or one of those anyway? Really, what's Ableton? $400. And then we can go up. Cubase is $900. So it really does quite escalate in some of those cases. So you do have to think about it. And what's Logic? It's about $500, isn't it? I forget what Logic is.
No, Logic's cheap, about $150.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get a Mac first.
Yeah, but it's Apple. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
they gave you $1,000 always.
You got to get Catalina.
Yeah.
And then nothing works.
So
brilliant.
it looks cheap.
On paper, but you pay later.
So you get Logic.
And I still can't find the automation. I still don't know how to undo the automation without trying to redraw it in Logic after 5 years of using it. I just still can't find it. Or MIDI learn. I've tried everything.
Yeah, but like you buy Logic, so then you buy go down to the computer shop and buy a Mac, and then you have to go down to another computer shop and buy 500 dongles so that you can actually use the Mac. So yeah, it's working well for them. That's for sure. I had a guy was talking to me the other day about computers and about I want to do video editing. I want to do my music on it. I punch out, beats all the time, blah, blah, blah. And he was telling me all this cool stuff. I'm going to get a Mac. What Mac should I get? And I'm like, why do you want to get a Mac for?
Get Windows. Yeah, get Windows. It'll be cheaper.
He was talking about spending $4,000 US, $5,000 US on a Mac. He literally could have spent a quarter of that, maybe a third of that, and got exactly the same spec computer. It would have included Windows, and the rest of the money he could have spent on buying a new synth or something. Like, seriously, and would have given him exactly the same platform to work with. And I honestly, look, don't get angry with me, guys. I'm using a Mac. right? That is a Mac right there. So I am using a Mac. So I'm not rubbishing Macs at all. But hardware for dollar, absolute rip-off. Complete, absolute rip-off.
This is true, right, Rans, because I use a Mac and I bought into Logic and then I bought into getting a second-hand Mac. And I've been looking at video editing and getting a computer. And my daughter needed a new computer. So my parents kind of chipped in. I got a fairly decent Windows computer, new, 700 quid. It'll do 4K rendering. It'll do it about a minute for a minute. So that's kind of really cool. Now to get a Mac to do that, you are looking at $4,000, aren't you?
Easily.
Really?
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
So there's no comparison, is it?
Then don't even think about getting into video, because these days, let's face it, if you're going to be a musician and you want to get yourself out there, you're going to have to start thinking about video, because people don't just want to listen; they want to see. There's more, they want to connect to you visually as well as hear you. They don't just want to. You don't just buy CDs down at the shop anymore. They've got videos everywhere, So all of a sudden now you got to become an audio engineer, mixer, and a video choreographer, and live streamer, and all this crap. What are you going to do that on a Mac Mini? $1,000 Mac Mini. Not going to happen. The chatties are saying the same stuff. Well, V7, nice to see you. He's saying Reaper, Mac, Windows, Linux. Well, there you go. And also Bitwig. That's another one that does.
Fraction.
What else? Cubase is Mac and Windows, isn't it? So you can run it over too.
Yeah, I think it's only Logic, though, isn't it?
Pricey though.
Ableton is Windows and Mac. Yeah. Steinberg.
How much
look,
is Cubase?
Steinberg. Who was mentioning Steinberg? I think Michael B was. Steinberg are pretty good as a company. Like, I'm not going to knock them. I don't use their DAW, but one thing I will say about them that's really good is they are cutting edge with their updates. They usually bring stuff out a long time before anyone else does. Like they were the first people to bring out that headroom thing. Do you remember a couple of years ago they brought that the clipping headroom feature? That was amazing. That no other DAW had that, I don't think. I think some hardware console mixers had that, but no DAW had it.
Aren't they kind of the inventor of the modern linear DAW, though? Really,
they are. Yeah.
Back in the
Atari
90s,
ST. Yep.
They were the ones that went da-da, and.
Yeah.
But I remember I look forward to they did Cubase audio where it got a loop in it, and I was really excited. But the computers weren't really up to it, so it's about a second delay, so it was unusable. So you still had at the end of the track, you still had to press stop and go back to the beginning again. Whereas it, rather than it looping all the time.
Yeah.
But they invented it. They invented kind of. But it was about £1,300 back in the 90s, wasn't it? It was really expensive.
Wasn't it even the late 80s, I think it was, when they came out? I think it wasn't called Cubase. It was called something else when Atari first brought it out. But it was Steinberg took it on, and what was it? Notator, was it?
Cakewalk. It wasn't Cakewalk.
No, Cakewalk was IBM Windows World. And it was after Amiga. So Amiga had something. I think Amiga might have been Notator, actually. Andrew?
I should know this. I've just written a dissertation on it.
Yeah, I've forgotten too. I mean, I used to use an Amiga for sequencing. And I can't even remember what it was called on my Amiga. I think it might have been Notator. Or Music something. Anyway. But yeah. We talked about the Atari last week when I did that. Yeah,
Octamed, yeah, mate.
Yeah. Octamed, the tracker.
Yeah.
Now they've got Poly-N tracker,
up in the loft,
which is basically an Octamed, isn't it?
Which is another sequencer. We're talking about back to the sequencers.
Yeah. Speaking of sequences that we didn't mention, at all. And this one's going to be for Andrew for next week when we talk about it a bit more. Loopers.
Is that a reface?
That's a reface, and it's got a MIDI looper in it. It's a looper. So it's actually not an audio looper. It's actually a MIDI looper, and that's like another world. It's not audio loopers like those pedals that you have, like what Dad has got, the Intergalactic Federation guy's got. It's more like a loop. It records the MIDI notes and MIDI data, and then it loops that. And we're going to talk about that, aren't we, Andrew, soon? So I don't know when.
We are, because I've got a few different types of MIDI loopers that we're going to talk about.
So that's going to be cool. Actually, it's an area that the only one that I know of is the reface one. That's the only one that I've ever actually touched with my hands. I mean, obviously I know stuff that I haven't touched, but the only one that I've ever played with is the reface one. Pretty good fun, actually. So, yeah.
So
we
MIDI
can talk
looping.
about that. MIDI looping, yeah. It's kind of, yeah. Andrew's going to talk about the difference between a MIDI looper and a sequencer, but they are kind of, there's overlap, but yeah.
Yeah.
You can loop in a sequencer, but it's not really the same thing. It's not, you don't build your workflow the same way. It's a different workflow. So anyway, I'm not going to spoil it. Andrew's going to talk about it. So that'll be Wednesday, not this Wednesday coming up, Wednesday after. And for those of you guys who live in the UK and Europe, you have to either get up really, really early, or you'll have to start really, really late. Because unfortunately, it's a show we put on for the west coast of the US. And yeah, so there's a few people that hang around from the east coast of the US because it's pretty late for them, but it's more for the west coast of the US and the east coast of Australia, because we don't really get to talk to them much on this show. This is more, more the UK and European and what else? East Coast US.
You'll have to do what I do.
I just stay up to 2 in the morning.
Be hardcore. Be hardcore.
Yeah.
Stay up all night. Yeah.
So yeah, and if you haven't seen any of those shows, Daz is in the Intergalactic Federation guys in the chat room now. We've done on the off weeks that we're not doing it with Andrew, the midweek MIDI guy. We're also doing like a jam show, and Dazza and I muck around. It's just kind of just a muck around. So if you aren't doing anything during the week because you're still in lockdown, you can check us out on that. It's always the replay as well, but it's always better when you're actually on the live show. Always fine. So yeah, and I think that's probably about it for today. I can't really see anyone sort of screaming at us, throwing their simps at the screen, saying, "Hey, you guys forgot to talk about blah blah blah." I think we mentioned most of it. Now, obviously, we can't show every single sequencer and go through it. The show would be like weeks long. It's just crazy. But the whole point of this was really just to sort of talk about how different people are and how different sequencers are and how everyone has a different opinion. So at the end of the day, you've got 4 people you're looking at on the screen right now, and probably all 4 of us have a different opinion about what's the best sequencer, I would say, quite safely.
And we all use them a different way.
And we all produce music. Yeah. So there you go.
And we all have at least one, so we can't even make up our minds ourselves. So that says something, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we have the gas problem.
So the answer to everyone's question is nobody knows what's the best sequencer.
I don't think we.
And even if you do think you're wrong.
I don't think we ever said the best sequencer, though, did we? I mean, really, what is the best sequencer? There isn't. It's the best sequencer.
We haven't made it us, we'd all own it. We'd all have the same, wouldn't we? We'd all go, this is it, this is the door, this is the hardware, So there is no right answer. There's what you like.
There's definitely the opposite, though. There's definitely the opposite. So we could do another show on what's the world's crappiest sequencer.
Or things that you want to throw up the wall, but you can't, that are too expensive.
I reckon that might be a good topic. Sequencer rants.
The holy cow, why did I buy that?
Yeah.
How fast can I eBay it?
Then you know what the next funny side segment's going to be? It's going to be someone sending a photo of them throwing a sequencer at their screen with the picture of our stream still left on the screen. That's what it's going to be.
Tempting to spill.
Because I forgot to mention their name that they were in the chat. Dear.
Throw it out the window and they go, oh God, it's the wrong one. And now I'm left with the really crappy one.
We're going to head off. It's been a great, just over 2 hours. So I hope you've enjoyed the show, and we'll be back next week. I don't know, have no idea what topic we'll have on next week. Sometimes someone will tell me, like this week Inky told me to do something. So usually when Inky tells me to do something, I do it though. You never argue with Inky. But
that's so not true. That's a first.
Anyway, next week, if you do have a topic that you want us to cover, there's always ways that you can contact us through the about part of my YouTube channel is a good start. There's always socials. Anything on Twitter, like just Ramsey on Twitter is an easy one to find. You can always get me on there. Anyway, and also if you've got something for any of the segments, funny side memes, news you want us to talk about, or if you found a good scammy price on eBay or Reverb or even that new Behringer site, send in a screenshot of it. You'll never know, it might be on the stream. So without further ado, I'm going to say a quick review from Darren. Say goodnight to everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone. And parts 4 and 5 of From Here to Nowhere is out tomorrow, 4 o'clock, British time.
So check out Darren's channel.
So I'll tune in for that.
Yep, on the stream. Inky, quick hello, bye-bye from everyone. See you later.
Bye. Speak to you all soon.
Fantastic. Andrew?
See you later. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone, for having us, and we're going to wave goodbye. See you next week. See you later.